Akonderwe maoko. Aiwa, tinokuchingamidzai pano paSouth TV nhasi uno tina vaJoni Mushavatu vanoyevo vemapostori vachanyatsotitsanangurira kuti zvakamira sei, because isi takukonfusika kuti marange what ivo vachatitsanangurira. Asi kambo kavanga muchinzwa aka indaisimbokanzwawo ndiri mudiki. Saka manga muchiona ndichitambirira. Ini ndinoitwa Monica kunze kweguta, ndiri mushamarari weprogramu ineyi. Saka tati tidaidze vaMushavatu nokuti tine nyaya dzinotinetsa mumakomuniti edu, and tinoramba tongotaura iyo nyaya yegirl child iya. Ndo pazvakabvira ipapo kuti titsvagane titi izvona mungatiudzawo here kuti zvii zvinenge zvichiitika nekutitsanangurirawo patinenge tiri kurasika mafungiro. Saka vaJoni Mushavatu makasimba here?
Iripo, ndotenda kwazvo ndokutidana kwamaita kuti nditsanangure pamusoro pechechi yedu yekuvaJoni Marange. Ndine makore anosvika 60, kuti about 60 years. Ndakaberekerwa muchechi imomo. Hatina kumbomira chechi kubvira pandakabhabhatidzwa ndiri mwana mudiki. Ndakakura ndirimo. Saka ichechi ndakazoda kwazvo pamwoyo pangu nemwoyo wese, kuti ndakada kuziva nezvayo kubvira ndichikura ndiri kupuraimari. Kusvika ndaenda kusekondari ndakaramba ndiriko, ndaizikanwa semupostori kuchikoro kwese kwandaenda. Ndakaenda kuchikoro kunozwa Kutama kunova Roman Catholic School. Vanhu vese vandakafunda navo vanondiziva semupostori nekuti vaindiona vagerwa musoro. Ndakasadana ndebvu zvangu, asi vaindiona pese pandichienda kuchikoro vandiona kuti uyu munhu mupostori uyu ane maitiro ake nemagariro ake akasiyana nevamwe. Kusvika ndakazodiwa maningi nemabrother, marist brothers vekuQuebec, vanova ndo vakuru veKutama College, vakandida kwazvo vakandifarira pamusoro peku munhu anoda zvekunamata semupostori. Saka ndine hombo kana kuti tsananguro yakakwana yandinokwanisa kupa pamusoro pechechi iyi, nekuti chechi ndakura mukati mayo, netsika dzayo dzose ndinadzo. tinokwanisa kuti tibatsire vanhu vanenge kuziva pamusoro payo. Wow. Voice, no voice.
Tinotenda kuti mauya kuzotaura nesu nekutitsanangurira pamusoro pechechi yenyu uye nekutijekesera patinenge tisina kujekerwa. Tine mibvunzo yatinayo pano, mibvunzo yatakakugadzirirai, asi ndiri kuda kuti mutange matsanangura nekuti maiti maichechi aya akapatsanurika. But hatisi kuda kuti tipedze nguva tiri ipapo, noti zvinotipedzera nguva yekuzopindura mumwe mibvunzo.
Chechi kwaJohn Marange yakawambwa namutumwa Johana anova ainge ari mwana aberekwa pakati pevamwe vakoma vake vaviri vainge varipo vanoti Cornelio naAnrod. Saka John ndiye akari mudiki wacho pamhuri yavo, ndiye akavamba chechi. Chechi iyoyo akatendeutsa baba vake vainzi Amomberume, akatendeutsa mukoma wake vainzi Anrod, akatendeutsawo mukoma wake ainzi Cornelio. Vese vakaita vapostori vekwaJohn Marange. Kwatizvo chechi yakavambwa nemunhu anonzi individual person anonzi John Marange. Saka ichechi yaakavamba yekuti kana iye akasiya tauro parujekerere kuti kana chinge pane zvinhu zvazoitika zvichireva kufa kwake, vana vake ndo vaizosara nebasa rechechi yake. Kwati vana vanobva matauro ake aiti vana vanobva muchiuno chake, kureva kuti vana vaJohani ndivo vanofanira kutungamira chechi iyoyo, kwete vana vabanguru vaAnrod vari ndokuna kwataguta kana kuti vekwaCornelio, asi vana kuti vanobva muchiuno chaJohani ndivo vanozotungamira chechi iyoyo, ndivo vanofanira kuva vachitungamira chechi iyoyo nhasi uno. Saka kana kune imwe chechi inenge ichiripo inozviti yevapostori isina ropa raJohani, utungamiri hwekuti munhu arimo ndiye akabva muchiuno chaJohani, chechi iyoyo inenge isiri chechi yekwaJohn Marange, yaane rimwe zita yainopiwa. Hazvina mhosva kuti vangade havo kuzviti vekwaJohn Marange, asi kana vachinge vasina vemuchiuno chaJohani, kana vasina ropa raJohani, chechi iyoyo inonzi imwe chechi isiri yaJohn Marange.
Ndazofunga kuti vamwe vedu vakateerera futi ndeve vasinganzwe chishona, saka takuchinja topinda muchirungu. So you just explained to us that the pure descendants, the descendants of John Marange, right?
Yes.
Are the ones who are supposed to take over.
Yes.
So which one is your leader? One who came from the original person or the cousin?
Ours is a direct descendant, and now from the third generation. That is the one who's leading our church at the moment. Yes.
So from the church being started by the individual. So where did the idea of polygamy come from?
Well, the idea of polygamy, there's never been an idea for the church. It's just that it was adopted by the church, because as far as we know, polygamy is part of our African culture, and it was accepted by the church. And reading through the Bible, we also realized that there is no condemnation for polygamy in the Bible. As a matter of fact, we've got so many examples of well-to-do men of God who had more than one wife. And to give you an example,
Okay. We seem to be having problems with network. I hope he comes back. Mm. Uh, our guest has dropped off, but we hope he will come back. He'll come back soon. Okay, yeah, it seems like he's fallen off. I'm gonna ask him to come back again. Must be the network. Mm. These are the challenges of technology. I hope he's able to come back. In the meantime, I'll play you the song that he gave us um, just for a few minutes. Yes, 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 absolutely. That's my main question. We want to know why they marry young girls. That is where we are going, and he was gonna. That is where we were headed. Let me see if I can get hold of him again. Hmm, that's disappointing. Give me a second. Let's hope he will be able to rejoin us. Right now, I don't know what has happened, whether his internet connection is completely gone or what. Um, well, probably yes. Oh, blast. Probably the electricity is gone. So in the meantime, let's play their songs, their song, and maybe okay. Okay. I sincerely hope he's able to come back so that he can answer these questions. Mr. Mushavatu is actually a graduate himself. And so I was keen to ask and find out how many, if any, of his sisters went to school as well and are graduates, or maybe people from his age group. Only men went to school. I'm eagerly waiting. Let me try once again and see. I hope we manage to get him back. This is so frustrating. Yes, I mean, I'm enjoying the music because I know these tunes from way back. So you know what nostalgia does. It doesn't matter whether you like some of the principles or not, but the music connects. Mm. We have lost our guests. What do we do? What do we do? Audience, tell me. We have lost our guest, and this was we were waiting for this show. Ah, goodness me. Hmm. I don't know what to do. You guys want to hear the music? What do you want? Because we lost our guests. Okay, Chris, I'll send you the link. Okay, I'm gonna send you the link on WhatsApp. Uh-uh. Okay, Chris, let me send you the link. Okay, I've sent you the link. Go to your WhatsApp and just click on StreamYard. In the meantime, I'm gonna play music until you come in. There you are.
I'm back. Sorry about this. Eh?
Thank goodness. So my brother is probably
Yes.
going to join us as well. My
Yeah.
brother is
Okay.
probably going to join us. Yes. Okay. So the question that we're answering the question about polygamy.
Yes. I was saying polygamy is not a matter of law or rule for members to be in polygamy. It is just that it's a part of our African culture, and our church adopted it after seeing that it was not anything bad according to God's plans and God's law. And we have got several examples of well-to-do men of God that we know who were in polygamy. We've got, for example, Abraham, who is well known for being a father of great faith in God. And as a matter of fact, God went on to call Abraham as his friend. This is when Abraham had more than one wife. He had Sarah, as we all know. He had Hagar. He had Keturah, and several other wives that he had that are not even mentioned by name. Not only Abraham, but several other examples of well-to-do men of God who had more than one wife. For David, he had many wives, and Solomon, as we are told in the Bible, had more than 800 wives.
Mm.
All that was not a sin before God. God never condemned him for that. The only problem with Solomon is God would show was when he went on to fall for heathen gods of part of his wives. That is the only problem. That is the only time or part of his life in marriage that was rebuked by God. But otherwise,
Okay.
as far as his marriage was concerned, to
Mhm.
so many wives, there was no condemnation.
Okay. So before we proceed, just so that I don't lose my question, my trend of thoughts, where you mentioned
Yes,
Solomon, is that just
yes,
figurative? Because we know that physically it's not impossible. It would then mean that Solomon never went to work. If he had 800 women, it would also imply that if he had 800, he wasn't able to satisfy them. It was all about him. The 800 women never got enough. Physically, it's not possible unless a man is not working. All he does is to be with the women.
yes. I don't know how he went about it. I don't know. I don't have that detail. I'm sure I don't have that detail as well. And it's not part of scriptural, revelation. But as far as we are
Okay.
told, and as far as we all know, it's just that he had so many wives.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
I'm just going to do a quick
Can I
reset.
explain for a
Uh,
moment?
Before you do that, Chris, I'm just going to introduce the topic again. Then I'll ask you to introduce yourself. Today here on South TV, we are talking about Mr. John Mushavatu is answering questions about his church, Mapostori Ekwamarange. So here I have Mr. John Mushavatu, and I have got my own brother, Chris Kunzekwe Guta. Chris, can you introduce yourself? And you tell people what you do?
Hi, good evening. My
Yeah.
name is Chris Konsegwe. I recently graduated as an industrial engineer, industrial and manufacturing engineer at the National University of Science and Technology in Blawayo, and I'm currently running a project, a brewing project in Harare, a microbrewery where we are going to be brewing craft beer. So today I saw a fascinating topic from my sister. Then, well, I think I can answer a lot of questions she has because I am part or recently part of the church that is in discussion. So I think I am well versed with the answers and the question that she might have to ask. So good evening.
Great, great. It's nice to have you. Um, I just want to acknowledge our sponsor for a second. Our sponsors are P34 Services. They deal with everything construction. So we just want to appreciate them for sponsoring South TV. So if you need anything about building in Zimbabwe, if you're in the diaspora, they're your go-to person or the go-to company because they have been working and serving people in the diaspora and they know exactly what you need. You need to talk to Mr. Nyapimbi. So back to our program. I think there was a question that was asked here. Did you want to chime in, Chris, on the polygamy question?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
And unfortunately, I didn't hear the question, but my assumption is, uh, how did Solomon manage his polygamy of 800 women's to 100 plus concubines? I think it's because he was a king. He had a lot of servants. He had a lot of people who was doing work for him. His only work was to satisfy women, and probably, and I think maybe that time it was possible. Very
Okay,
difficult, but because he was a king, probably at a command.
okay, we'll take that. Our next question then to Mr. Mushavatu would be, so where did the idea of taking younger girls come from? Or when did it start, or how did it start? That younger women or younger girls are marrying older men.
Oh,
Did you get the question?
oh, you have to come again.
I was asking
No,
that.
I didn't.
Okay, before we go
Yes.
to that, you wanted to clarify Anna Mamombe's story. Mr.
Wow.
Mushavatu, you wanted to clarify before we proceed. You wanted to clarify Anna Mamombe's, Anna Machaya's story. Can you hear me? I think his network is.
Hello.
Is
So maybe in the moment I can chip in.
okay. Did you hear anything about that story or any clarifications?
No, with the animal member thing, I wouldn't want really to comment on the thing because I'm not sure or I didn't follow it in detail. But
Anna
my
Machaya.
thinking or what I've learned, yes,
Mm.
Anna Machaya, sorry. Why I think people marry young girls. Uh, in postory, vanonzi varume rorai, as in people marry as many as you can, so that we have a lot of people in the church, because the church is not looking forward to recruit people from outside. It's going to it actually, the philosophy is like we make people from within, then they grow within the church. They don't go outside. They marry within. They you know they reproduce, they make more babies, we have lots of a bigger congregant. So this idea of marrying young girls is a result of this push of guys marrying. So when people gets to marry, the average age gets to get lower, because the girls are no longer getting old. Because when they get old, they're already snitched with other guys. So I think that's where the problem is. I think people shouldn't be asked to marry that much, and the rule of law should be applied strictly when it comes
Okay.
to marriage age.
Mr. Mshawatu, did you get any of Chris's contribution regarding marrying younger girls? Where did that come from? Or where does it come from?
Wow.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to, Chris, whilst you're speaking, or you can speak, I'm going to ask him to be on audio only on WhatsApp so that he gets to answer our questions.
That's beautiful. Uh, Within the church itself, the gospel, before every church service starts, they actually say, I quote, uyo anorora mwana ari underage hazvisi pamutemo. If you are arrested, the church is outside of it, which is a sign that the church itself, it is respecting the fact that if you marry an underage girl, it is unlawful. If you get arrested, you don't have to include the church. In the case of Anna Mom, even Anna Machaya, if you closely follow the story, I assume, I didn't follow it, but I assume that the guy will be arrested without any interference of the church. So I think the church is not really putting extra effort to avoid these things to happen. But when these things happen, the government has a mandate to follow up and put the right things in order. Like, I mean, make, apply the law on every situation. Sometimes the church doesn't put it like, okay, because it is with from their side, it's their own benefit, so they won't cry. But if it is affecting the whole majority of the people, the government should come in. The government doesn't do that.
Okay. So let me find out from Mr. Mushavatu. Mr. Mushavatu, can you tell us where did the practice of marrying younger girls come from? And what are your views on that?
In our church, we encourage purity in the church. And at no time is it ever advocated for members to marry young children.
Preach.
Children are only, girls are only married when they are of age. But the worst thing that can ever happen is for a girl child in the church to lose their virginity. When such a situation arises, the church, with an idea of keeping purity within itself, such a girl is either forced, was having gone through a marital exercise, is supposed to get married. That's where we really have some problem in the church. But the whole idea is to maintain purity within the church. So we try as much as possible to keep our girls clean and pure for as long as they can. A girl in the church can live up to 20 years, 25 years, as long as she keeps virginity. So the only problem comes in when such a situation has been violated.
Yes, I would say mauya zvakanaka ipapo. You're talking about the importance of maintaining purity for the girl child so that she maintains her purity until she gets married, right?
Yes.
Why is it so important that she maintains purity when she's actually going to marry a man who has got 15 wives?
It's not that girls are supposed to be married to a man with 15 wives or a polygamous situation. It's by choice. If a girl accepts and agrees to marry a person who is with more than one wife, that's by choice. Otherwise, if there are many people in the church that are married and are living a monogamous life, it's never a doctrine of the church that every man should have more than one wife. And that's not a doctrine of the church. It was never a church law. But those that saw it right and who can afford it and who can do it are free to have more than one wife. So a girl child who chooses not to be married in a polygamy is not forced to get into polygamy.
Okay, I'm just gonna check and see if our audience can hear, because the volume for some reason has gone down. What Mr. Mushavatu is saying is that it's not the law that every girl should marry in a polygamous marriage. They can choose to marry whoever they want. I've got something to say about that. They can choose to marry anyone they want, but they don't necessarily have to marry in a polygamous relationship or a polygamous marriage. But the truth of the matter, though, is she may marry as maybe she's decided, I want to be just me and my husband. But then what will then happen is after her, the husband goes and marry many people. But the issue, I think, that we are really want to focus on is why marry younger women, and what and how does the church deal with such behavior or such practice. Can you hear me? Just hold on a second. Hold on. I'm going to reset my phone so that the volume goes up. Chris, are you still there? Yeah, the network here in Zimbabwe is playing up. But I think my network here as well is dropping. So let me see if I can call him back again.
Yes, I'm in.
Okay. Okay. So can you respond to the question that I asked?
Yes. All girls about freedom.
Go ahead. Go ahead. We can hear you. Okay. So to recap on what Mr. Mushavatu was saying, he says that his daughters only got married after they reached age 18. Okay, go ahead.
Yes. I was saying it would not be proper for a girl who has not reached at the age of making a proper decision to be forced into a marriage. We don't do that. It is discouraged. So like I was saying, in my family, I have not had any child married below an age of consent.
Okay. So for those that you witness that are married below age of consent, you can see that this one is young. What does the church, or what is in place to make sure that such issues are dealt with? Because 14 is very young, 15, 16 is really young. Anyone under the age of 18 is too young to get married, as you're rightfully saying. So what are the structures that are within your church to make sure that it is curbed?
in our church, we encourage parents to look after the girl child, to make sure that the girl child maintains her purity up to a time when she can decide to get married. If a problem arises where a girl child is spoiled, and usually it happens not from the church, this happens from school, was we got a way of making sure that the child is pure in the church. I think part of our system where we have them going for tests to make sure that they are still clean, so to speak. So we sometimes have problems that these girl children, much as we try to keep them clean, we have problems happening with of them getting spoiled at school or from others that are not members of the church. When such a thing happens and it is discovered, it becomes a burden on the church, because the church's idea is to maintain purity. And when that happens, we try to make sure that that problem is cleared from the church as quickly as possible. Because once someone decides to get into an affair or gets to know men, that's not our problem. That's not a problem of the church. It's a problem for the parents who are supposed to find a way of solving that problem, but all in an idea to keep purity in the church.
Okay. So when you're talking about purity, just for me to clarify, you're basically saying that it is important that it is a girl you're talking about. A girl maintains her virginity, which is purity. And that is the purity is necessary, and that is what everybody's concerned about, that the girl stays pure. And who checks the boys?
The same applies. It's not only for the girl. It applies to both boy and the girl. That they all maintain their purity. And I think as much as I do, that in the church, like when we were growing up ourselves, touching a girl's shoulders was a sin. Just touching a shoulder would mean that I have to go and confess before the church that I've touched a girl's shoulder. So we don't have cases of for free unions in the church. That's what we try to avoid as much as possible. And because of that, we don't have single mothers in the church. Whereas if you go to other churches, you find that there are a lot of single mothers, which is very bad, and just a sign that the church is not pure at all. So this is what our church avoids, and this is how the church has maintained its purity. Without any single mothers in the church, whoever decides to get married just has to get married, and that's it. We don't have to force it. We marriage on young children, but if a child or a girl child fails to keep herself pure and they decided to get married when it is indulging into what is supposed to be in marriage, there's nothing we can do, because what we want is purity in the church. The idea, you mustn't miss the idea. The idea is to keep purity in the church.
Okay. You mentioned that the church will deal with, if a girl is no longer pure, the church will deal with that. How do they go about it?
That becomes a matter for the parent. The parent will know that it's got a baggage. It becomes a baggage for the parent. And it's for him to see how best he can offload that baggage. Because once a girl child is not pure, that's something that is very disturbing, that should be disturbing to the family before it gets on to the church.
Okay. I hold that thought. You mentioned that as boys, they are not allowed to touch a girl or anyone's shoulder before they get married. But being touched on the shoulder or touching anybody's shoulder does not make anyone lose virginity. To the boys, it's just a discussion that the older men or the leaders would have with them to say, this is, you need to maintain your purity until you get married. To the girls, there is physical examination where they go to the river and they actually get checked physically, maybe once a year or twice a year, to check whether they have been violated or spoiled, as you are saying.
Yes.
Why is that
Yes.
practice still necessary?
The idea is, like I've already alluded to, is to maintain purity in the church. But it would be also good to say it out here at this stage that this practice only came about recently. In the past, hello?
I'm here where we can hear you.
Yes, yeah, okay. In the past, we had the prophet would point that, would pick it out that this one was no longer a virgin, like that, without necessarily going to the river for examination. But because some of the members of the church were complaining that the prophet was giving false information about loss of virginity and that kind of thing. That's when this idea of physical examination came about. Otherwise, the church where the prophets, the Holy Spirit would just tell that this one is passed, this one is failing.
Okay. So when you're saying it's a recent one, how many years is that? Because I'm 50, and I remember going through that.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. That's a long time ago. In fact, it was Prophet Simon was very good at picking out, that this one is felt, this one is okay, this one is okay, like that. But people, started complaining and saying, this falsehood has been made to me, that kind of thing. That's when that decision to have some physical examination came about.
How about hygiene?
Hygiene, what about that?
Because the people who are examining these girls are not wearing any gloves.
Oh, I see. Okay, I don't have detail about what transpires when you girls go out to the river. I don't know much about that.
Okay.
And
So maybe
if there's any hygienic effort that needs to be made, I think that's something that you can recommend to members of the church. I don't know much about what happens there. Really.
Okay. So I would like to have a private conversation with someone regarding this, because I know how it's done. Yeah. I know that it's actually having a group of women checking you down below to see whether you are still a virgin or not. It's uncomfortable. I don't know how many people would just freely, lie there and have someone look at them down below. I think it's a practice that needs looking at for various reasons, because nowadays these are actually you might find that some people might actually decide to take the mbuyas to court for violating them, because nobody's supposed to touch you down below. But anyway, I think I need to have a separate conversation with someone and explain the medical implications. Because if you are checking whether a girl has been violated or not, and amongst these girls, someone has got a sexually transmitted disease and has not mentioned that I'm actually dripping pus, whatever. And these people who are examining, they touch her, and from there they touch another girl. These things have got serious medical implications. And I think it's a practice. It's a practice that actually needs to be stopped.
Yes. Yeah, but before you get to sexual transmitted diseases, I think that's a part of the reason why the girls are taken for that examination, because that's a way of trying to stop any indulgence that can end up that sexual transmitted disease. So really, you must understand the idea. The idea is to make sure that our girls maintain their purity until or up to marriage time.
I understand the idea behind it. And
Yes.
this marriage, it's not as if she's also marrying a virgin. She's marrying, sometimes in other cases, she's marrying a man who has slept with 10 virgins. I don't see how that is fair. And then even the arrangement of how people sit in church is the older men sitting in front and the girls facing them. Their wives, Vanagogo, will be sitting right at the back. The boys, the younger men, will be sitting right at the back. They don't even have the chance to be looking at these girls, so that at least they can pick their girl, or they can pick a wife. The arrangement that doesn't look right to me, because
Okay. Okay, you're not talking about the sitting arrangement in the church.
Yes.
Yeah,
Because this is where
church,
the virgins are sitting there facing the older men.
Mm-hmm. Yes, let me explain about that. The church hierarchy or church, how can I put it? The most respected people in the church are Baptists.
Okay.
I think you know about that. Do
yes,
you?
Yes, I do.
Yes, over the Baptists. Yes, Baptists. And they are followed by evangelists. And then we have got the prophets, and then the healers. That's the hierarchy of the church.
Mm-hmm.
Now in the church, the operations of a church, or operations of a crack, or how do I say it now? The operations of the church that is managed by evangelists. So it is evangelists that sit in the front row for purposes of managing the operation of the church service. So we have in the front evangelists. After the evangelists, maybe I don't know, depending on when you left the church, we no longer have the boys sitting at the back of the church. Immediately after the evangelists, we have the boys or the unmarried ones, or the like the APs.
Okay.
Those are the ones that we have immediately after the elderly evangelists. Then after that, that's when we have a line of Baptists. And with those Baptists, there are also young ones, like you are saying. We also have some young ones, that will be in that third line. Then after the Baptists, we have the healers, Ramurat. And then at the back, we have the prophets, who be keeping a sentinel over the whole church service. So this about the young girls in France, it's not so much for that. Young girls, like we have already pointed out, are a sign of purity in the church. They are in the front. Besides that issue of purity, also to help with the singing. That's why the mornings, early mornings, they are taken out, to practice, so that when the church is conducted, they are there to lead in the singing of the church, in the church. So it's not that's all about taking advantage of girls is out of the person. Because if it is the Baptists who are a high-ranking, what do I say? Who are high-ranking, who should be in the front to have eye contact with those girls. So that is out of the question. I don't know where you got that from.
Now, you mentioned anyway to say things have changed. Certainly, that's not what I what I experienced, but I'm glad that you clarified it. But you still haven't answered.
Yes.
You still haven't answered the question that I asked. That how does the church deal with men who are taking younger people? Because this is why it is making everybody just to say apostle. How is the church dealing with men who is taking someone who's underage?
Yeah, the issue of underage is condemned, and we are saying every parent is supposed to raise a child up to a marriageable age. That's the position of the church. But as for the men to marry more than one wife, that's another thing altogether. Marrying more than one wife is not, like I said earlier on, is not condemned in the church. It is a practice that was adopted by our church, which is part of our Shona culture. And we found nothing wrong about it. And the Bible doesn't condemn it at all. As we have so many examples of people that were overly married, with more than one wife, but were not condemned by in the Bible. So getting to marry more than one wife is not an issue, but marrying someone underage is not a good thing. Every parent must help a child to grow up to marriageable age without getting spoiled into, make sure that some girls, those girls are not spoiled at school and at the church.
Okay, that is I believe that if like for example in the Muslim community, a man is encouraged they do marry many wives, but if you're not able to look after them, you're only supposed to have one. Is there a time that people who marry more than one and they themselves, they've got nothing to look after these women, are confronted?
Yeah, that is a good question, but it looks like you only trying to look at someone who is married with more than one wife. We have cases also of a man with one wife who fails to look after his family. We have got several examples, like even if you look at yourself from where you come from, we have some cases of monogamous unions where a man is failing to maintain or to keep his children. So I don't see how that becomes a serious matter when it comes to someone who is married to more than one wife. We also have people who have got more than one wife, who have got children, who look after their children much better than those that have got one wife. So that is not. I don't think that's something that we should really talk about.
No, I think we should. I'll tell you why we should talk about it. I am just asking, not in a way to attack, but I'm saying, are they ever confronted or even asked? Because I think if you're so big on purity, right? So what's good is purity. What good is purity if this girl then that you have kept so pure is going to be with someone who is just taking them and they're not even able to feed them? I'm just asking, is there a way such people are confronted, to just say, if something goes wrong, I know that you're called, they call you to say, you've done wrong here. Reurira. You've done wrong here. Reurira. I'm asking, Kuti, is there something that is in place to just make sure, because the responsibility of the church is not just to move forward the church, is to move forward with responsible people, so that even vana vacho who come after vachatera after imimi will enable the church to move forward. Never mind the people who are outside your church who are not looking after their children. We're talking about this church which has got so much emphasis on purity, on the girl child. Now that the girl child is married and is now married to a man who can't even feed her, and then the man marries another one and he can't feed them. I'm just saying, what is there in place to say to them, gentlemen, kana usati wakugona kuchengeta uyu vakadzi vairi ava haubvumidzwe kutora vatatu wechitatu.
Yes.
Ehe.
Yes. In fact, our church position is that whoever decides to marry must marry women that make up a family that is able to take care of. That is a position of the church. Anyone who goes out to marry and is not able to take care of the family, that is condemned. That is condemned in the church. Even when you are marrying one wife and you are failing to take care of that child, that woman and the children, that again is condemned in the church.
Okay. And so the condemnation Yakamira say, is it just telling them or sitting them down, giving them counseling? What kind of support do they get? Kuti azive responsibility yake as a person atora mwana waritsi.
Yeah. I'm very happy that I got associated with the late priest and able. You would give me some lessons of life that I cherish even up to this day. For example, as far as this matter is concerned, like we are saying, you would say that it is not proper for a church to give a high position or leadership position to a person who doesn't have a house, or a person who's unable to take care of his family. Because to give such a person a high position or a high rank in the church, you'll be expecting too much of miracle. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You'll be like expecting too much of miracle for someone who is already failing. He's failed to manage his family, he's failed to have a house, he's failed to live an exemplary life. So, you see, like this, such people should never be given positions in the church. Because they're a very bad example for the members of the church. Members of the church that are given positions in the church should be some people who have shown good management, skills by leading their own families in an exemplary way.
Okay. Iowa, thank you very much. Now I want you to kind of round up and tell us all the positive things about your church.
About what?
All the positive, the positive things about your church.
Oh yeah, okay. Our church was founded by an individual, and that individual called John Marange is a messenger of God who has come in our time to help people to get to know the ways that God wants us to live, so that we can go to heaven. I believe that this is the message of our time that was prophesied from Malachi, that there was going to be an Elijah who was going to come into this world to help people to know God's ways. And the positives about the church is that this is the only church, this is our belief, this is the only church that is available to help all people to go to heaven. The rest of the churches that you may be affiliated to, that the world knows, has got nothing to show for a possibility of going to heaven. You have this one who came from heaven, has got all detail of what transpires in heaven. You would go to heaven and come back. So any church that has got someone as a leader or founded by someone who has got no record of having gone to heaven itself. It's just a church leading to nowhere. So this is the biggest thing that we need to understand about our church, that the world has to know, that we have got the message of God that has come into this world and has come into our part of the world here in Africa. And fortunately, here in Zimbabwe, that we have got this message of God who is leading people to God.
Okay. So what's the significance of the beard?
The beard. The beard, yes, it was a God's idea that all men should have a beard. Those that decide to remove a beard are just going against God's idea. That men should have a beard. We have an example like the Bible. There's a time when David's men were captured. They had their beard removed. And it was when David learned about it that his men had their beard removed after being captured. He told those people to tarry at Jericho until the beard is grown. So it is a very big shame. It's a big shame for a man to have his beard cut. It's a big shame before God, before human nature, that a man should have his beard cut. And if a man to cut beard, what it means is that a man wants to be like a woman. And I can see some homosexual tendency in that for men to have their beard cut. Why would a man want to be like a woman?
Okay. Thank you so much. I'm just going to give a recap and then we finish. But before we close, we just want to thank Project 34 Services for sponsoring South TV. And Project 34 Services covers everything about construction. They're based in Harare and they look after everyone, people in Zimbabwe and those in diaspora. The discussion that we have had here, we want to thank Mr. John Mushavatu for coming forward to talk about and to answer our questions regarding the church, regarding the girl child, the marriages, the polygamy, and other questions that he's had to address here. I will just close by just reading a few comments that people made. I think at some point there was maybe someone did not quite get what you meant about. So the question was, so does it mean that all underage girls who get married were not virgins? Are you still there?
Yes, I'm there. Yes. Yeah, most of the girls that end up in kind of compromise the marriage. They will have failed somewhere along the line. That's the problem. That's the problem that these girls end up getting into. But all members of the church are well aware about that. And talking about that can be maybe 1% or so of the, or 0.0-something percent of members of the church that are affected that way.
Okay, and then so why check? What about if the girl was raped? What will happen if they find that the girl was not pure because she was raped?
The cases of rape are taken into account, and such people are cleared. And when that happens, and the rape is from outside the church, or even from if you find out it's not from a consensuous arrangement, then it's cleared by the evangelist, and the girl is given in the quotations, it's given back her virginity, and she continues to stay in the front line.
Okay. I don't know how they do that, but I don't know how they manage to restore virginity, but probably just to
Yeah, it's like you have also girls that you get that fail, not because of sexual contact. You have some girls failing because of cycling bicycle.
Okay.
Yes, so such cases also arise. So when such a thing happens, they're put up before the prophets, and they say, no, after all, the girl is not, is not violated. Sexually violated. Then that also is cleared, and the virginity is restored again in quotations.
Okay, I know that we are humans, and
Yes.
we are humans, and families, friends, and other people. What if the girl's family is hated by the woman giving the doing the examining, and they lie? How would they know that this girl is pure, but that woman just lied that she's not?
Yes, that's where the Holy Spirit is consulted, and the Holy Spirit will give the final word about that, or they can go for another examination from other women.
Okay.
They are for confirmation.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much to everyone who has taken time to be here with us on South TV watching this program. It is important that we all protect the girl child. It is important that we all, as Mr. Mushavatu said, that they are all encouraged to look after their daughters until they are of marriageable age. And so the whole community,
Yes.
not just them, it means that it's our responsibility, not just them, but us as Zimbabweans, us as a community, to protect the girl child and make sure that whether the girl child is in post-story or not, but every girl child is protected. And every girl child has got the opportunities, the same opportunities as everybody else. Every girl child is able to go to school to the level where they want to get to. If they want to get married after age 18, they can. But if they want to pursue school, they are able to go to school until such time that they decide to get married. And I'm hoping that the pressure to get married is not too much on the girl child, because it will still end up meaning that despite the efforts that people like Mr. Mushavatu are making, there are some people who are, doing things that disadvantage the girls. And then he will be standing there defending everyone, trying to explain that this is not how we do things. So let us all work together and protect the girl child. Thank you so much.
Yes.
See you again
Okay,
soon.
thank you very much.
Maitabas.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay.